Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about the much anticipated Marvel movie Black Panther. After the death of his father, T'Challa returns home to Wakanda to become its new king. As he has doubts about how good of a leader he will be, sins of the country's past will come back to haunt him. It's up to the Black Panther to not only defeat this new threat, but hold the fragile alliance between the country's tribes together. Now, I really like this movie and can't wait to talk about it, so before I get into that, let's get my minor gripes out of the way. The first thing is the lack of action. Now, when the action does happen, it's pretty well done, but I could have used some more of it. While I feel this movie could have used another big action set piece, this would have made an already long movie even longer. The reason I'm a little more forgiving about the lack of action is because the time was used for a good plot and character development. My other minor complaint is the overuse of CG. I know that they were trying to make Wakanda seem more technically advanced, and for the most part they succeeded, but there were times such as the final big fight of the movie where a lot of what was on screen felt fake. One of the characters mentions that Black Panther needing to take his helmet off by hand is old, but the old way also shows me that Chadwick Boseman is really in the suit. So with those minor nitpicks out of the way, just how was the rest of the movie? For the most part, Black Panther was the movie that I hoped it would be, and in some ways it exceeded my expectations. The first thing that I really liked is that you got a tradition versus doing the right thing plot that was very effective in building up the character of T'Challa. He has all sides pulling at him, but ultimately he has to decide the country's fate because he is the king. Speaking of T'Challa, while I enjoyed Chadwick Boseman in Captain America Civil War, he didn't really get a lot of time to develop the role a ton. This is not a knock on him, it just wasn't his movie, it was just the character's introduction. In Black Panther, Boseman really gets to, and no pun intended, sink his teeth into the role of T'Challa and knocks it out of the park. Boseman is great at capturing the struggle that T'Challa is going through the entire film. Now, while this movie is called Black Panther, that doesn't mean that all of Wakanda isn't represented to the fullest. The supporting cast in this is almost just as important as the role of the title character. All of them do a great job at getting you totally immersed into this world. Denai Guerrera, who most people know from her role as Michonne on The Walking Dead, is great as the general of King T'Challa's army. I like that while her character was serious most of the time, she got to have a little bit more fun with her character than she gets to have as Michonne. Lupita Nyong'o plays the former soldier turned freedom fighter Nakia, who also just happens to be T'Challa's former girlfriend. Her character is one of the main reasons why T'Challa starts to have doubts about his country's traditions. While I do set her up as a possible love interest for our Warrior King, I still wonder if now, since Disney bought Fox, will we see another love interest of T'Challa in the future. Letitia Wright plays T'Challa's sister and vibranium tech wizard. She is the one responsible for the Black Panther's new toys and costumes. Though her character is very important to the story, she also gets to be a lot of the movie's comic relief. Martin Freeman returns as a Civil War character Everett Ross. While he wasn't given a ton to do in this movie, he'll play the supporting role of connecting Wakanda to the outside world in the future. Lastly, when it comes to the good guys, you also get solid performances from Angela Bassett as T'Challa's mother and Forrest Whitaker as the Wakandan shaman Zuri. One of my favorite characters from the Black Panther comics, M'Baku, is well represented by Winston Duke. While he is quite different than his comic counterpart, I really like the changes that they made to his all-around character motivations. Also, for those wondering, the movie did not use his comic book alias Manape, though they do refer to him as the Great Gorilla, keeping in tone with each of the tribes having animal-based influences. So, what of the movie's villains? Michael B. Jordan plays Eric Stevens, who may or may not have connections to T'Challa's family. I won't say any more because I really don't want to spoil anything with his character. Andy Serkis returns as Ulysses Klaue from Avengers Age of Ultron. All that I'll really say about his return is that A, he seemed to be having the time of his life playing the bad guy, and B, for those wondering if he'd have his arm cannon from the comics, well, I don't want to spoil the fun. Earlier I mentioned that Black Panther exceeded my expectations in some ways. I think the biggest way that it did that was by being a singular story, but not being dragged down by being yet another character origin. I think Marvel Studios did the smart thing by introducing Black Panther in Civil War, which got the character's introduction and some of his motivations out of the way, similar to what that movie did with Spider-Man. Also, though this movie does have a few connections to Avengers Age of Ultron and Captain America Civil War, especially the after-credit scene, it didn't feel like the movie was forcing any unnecessary elements to set up future shared universe events. Oh, and lastly, as usual, always remember what Nick Fury says. Despite the few gripes I have with this movie, Black Panther is by far one of the standout solo Marvel movies. First, the cast is pretty fantastic, led by a game Chadwick Boseman as King T'Challa. Also, the story is compelling and personal, and while it does connect to the shared universe, it doesn't force it down our throats like some other Marvel movies or other shared universes have. Ahem. The look and feel of this movie is effective in making me want to see more stories out of Wakanda. While I'm sure we'll get another tale from the African country someday soon, in the time being, we'll just have to be held over by the promised return of Black Panther and Avengers Infinity War. As always, thank you so much for watching. What did you think of Black Panther? Feel free to comment down in the section below. Till next time, I'm Gino Reynolds from The Real Gino.